Okay, guys, welcome again. Today's first session and the second session in the conference. So today we are going to discuss politics and society in cyberspace. Şerife Hoca is going to moderate the session. Şerife Hoja, please.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our program today. It's going to take almost 2.5 hours. Every presenter will have 15 minutes. Please be careful about that. Our first presenter is Mediha Shakil from Kashmir Action Network, and her title is Cybersecurity and Fake News. Let's listen her. Mediha?
Assalamualaikum.
Okay, we can hear you.
I place myself under the cares of Allah from the attacks of a good Satan. In the name of Allah, entirely gracious, entirely merciful. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in an era of fake news, in which cyber criminals have been delving into this phenomena and turning it into lucrative business. Fake news is a term which is approximately modern. Collins has announced fake news as a word of 2017. European Commission for Digital Economy and Society considers that fake news is suppressing the media and society as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, in this fourth industrial revolution, data is not the new oil. Information is the lifeblood of human activity and the fuel of this fourth industrial revolution. In this new world order, fake news is the new weapon of mass destruction. So protection from your laptop to your democracy, from your handheld phone to your economic system, from your TV screen to your social order, from your personal sanity to your familial values. Everything is under attack in this day of cyber and fake news. Ladies and gentlemen, there was a time when power used to be wielded by restricting information from the populace. Now power is wielded by bombarding the same populace with information so that they don't know what is true, what is relevant, and what is otherwise. Ladies and gentlemen, we saw a spectacular demonstration of the power of cyber real combined with the devastating effects of fake news in the elections of Donald Trump back in 2016-17. When using retweets, shares, likes on Facebook and Twitter, the Russians managed to open and hijack the totally disrupt the American democratic process, which no civil war, no Cold War, no war on terror had been able to do. Ladies and gentlemen, the other example include Indians' claim of a civil war in Karachi, the shooting down of F-16, collision of J-17 at Multan, and the mythical 5th floor of Kabul Serena. In occupied Kashmir, India has been involved in disinformation and fake news long before the scrapping of Article 35A and 370, but it got worse after 5th August with snapping internet in Kashmir Valley, only to stop the real and authentic news coming from the locals. From political leaders, news anchors, to users of social media, fake claims and unverified news were circulated on various platforms to mislead the international community and fake the normalcy in Kashmir. The audience in this cyber age, We have managed to enter into a situation in which wars will not be declared, nor will they be renounced. Every country, every individual, every business concern will be in the state of perpetual war. Now the humanity finds itself stuck in the gray zone. We are neither in state of a conflict, nor in state of a peace. Cyberstate is literally the shade of gray with which we use to poetically define the complexities of life. The audience, the fourth industrial revolution, an explosion of cyberspace and its continuous encroachment upon our lives, and every facet of it is going to make us live our future lives into this gray zone. Neither war nor peace, neither truth nor falsehood, neither certainty nor uncertainty. A lot of information, but very little wisdom. A lot of data, but very little information. So the real frontier of cyber war does not lie in the electric circuit or your microchips or your semiconductors or your gadgets connecting to the IoT. The real frontier is human consciousness, human sanity, the individual. Because fake news can spark a war. Fake news can crash stock market. Fake news can create a flash mob. Fake news can destroy your homes. Fake news can affect the sanity of an individual. Fake news can change the entire narrative. All wars, whether they are fought on land, water, or the air, the outcome of all those wars will be decided by the party in favor of party which gets to dominate this invisible yet the more real cyber realm. Nations will not need to go to wars of liberation or wars of conquest to achieve their aims. Nations will only hack into your brainware, into your intellectual properties, into your source codes, into your technologies, into your research and development rosters. And this is how wars on conquest and accession will be fought, within the blink of an eye, with the snapping of few buttons on your keyboard, away from the prime lines of everybody, and before you know it, ladies and gentlemen, so the cyber is an organic and illusionary domain of human competition and conduct. It does not operate on an organic scale of hours, months, days, and years. It works on the inorganic scale of seconds, microseconds, and instantaneous occurrences. Ladies and gentlemen, offense used to be the best defense in the three traditional domains of war. But come this fourth domain, offense is the only defense for everybody involved. And Chinese, through their hefty investment in the Silicon Valley, thanks to their 40 years long continuous rise as an economic power and their immense investment into research and development, are the leaders in the cyber war. They're the leaders in cyber management. They're the leaders in the electromagnetic spectrum management. And now they're becoming the leaders in the artificial intelligence of microelectronics, and the cyber domain is going to be the playground of whole new breed of supermen and superwomen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the pivotal role in the human history, seminal movement in human history, when human intelligence is going to be replaced by superior yet artificial intelligence. And this cyber domain has been created for that monster which will transform the very concept of being human. Ladies and gentlemen, so cybersecurity at the end of the day is not just about installing antivirus softwares, hiring geeks, or staging or hacking attacks upon the networks of your rivalries or your enemies, or people you do not like. Cyber world and security is the biggest guarantee of human safety, human sanity, and the sanctity of human experience in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, this information has the potential to undermine national security, and it should be the core of our cyber defense. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mediha. Soruları en son alalım, değil mi?
Evet hocam.
Now
ben de
our-
öyle yapalım.
Tamam. Our next presenter is Merve Yazısı from 19th September University from Turkey. Her presentation title is State's Agenda of Cooperation on Cyberpolitics. We are listening, Merve. Welcome. Good
Thank
morning.
you. Thank you. Maybe my presentation will be a bit longer, so sorry for that. Firstly,
That's fine. You have time.
okay. First, I want to show you a little bit a minute duration video tape because it's my starting point. When I watched the that was held in Estonia, the Cybersecurity Summit, not summit, Digital Summit. It was organized by the European Union court, but the participants, not only by the European Union members, but also all, not all the world, but United States, Singapore, some democratic countries. I say democratic because they state that. In video, you'll understand that, and I can share screen, yeah. Okay. I think you can see
Digital
it.
Summit kicks off. What are your expectations?
Well, my main expectation is that here we have countries, organizations that share the common values. So our expectation is that we come up with a consensus, how we see trusted connectivity, how we see connectivity based on trust in different infrastructures.
And why is trusted connectivity a key priority at the Talent Digital Summit?
We see a constant power struggle between autocracies and democracies, and that's why it's very important that the democratic countries cooperate and consult and also agree on how we see how we can trust infrastructure investments, how we can trust technology, and how we can trust our data with the technology.
In light of this crucial need for global cooperation, what is Estonia's role in boosting digitalization?
Estonia has been in the front line of it. So we have the know-how and we have the experience on a smaller scale that we can also scale up in a bigger scale. And as we can also be the standard setter and also the mediator between the different stakeholders here.
Thank you very much.
A small scale from the sorry, I didn't close Digital Summit Act. Maybe you heard that they get a line between autocratic states and democratic states. I just asked myself, what is Turkey? What is Turkey's position in that line? Because we didn't participate. Maybe they didn't call us or we didn't accept it. I don't know the details, but I just curious about our position. But it's not possible to explain all the variables about digitalization, our compliance, the digital process to European Union. So I choose measure 2 points on that. I will explain in my presentation. Yes. Şuradan devam edebilirim. Everyone can see. Turkey and the EU on digitalization, on which route can we cooperate, or some issues can be it's hard to cooperation. And these are the basic lines on my research. The 4 points is part of my framework. What is the European Union's precedence for cooperation? What is motivations of Turkey? What is motivation of European Union? 2 variables on the protection of the human rights, which I'll mention about these 2 variables. The compliances and inconsistencies of the EU and Turkey's laws. And the result, is it possible to provide a comprehensive collaboration? In Estonian president saying, we heard that 3 basic principles about their cooperation: trusted connectivity, 3 Cs initiative, and digital public infrastructure. What are they? What they imply about when they say that trusted connectivity, certifying public-private global infrastructure investments that are transparent and high quality. They stress about the transparency. The second one is that 3 Cs initiative. The goal of trusted connectivity is to mobilize democracies to invest in a transparent and trustworthy manner into the quality infrastructure for the public benefit. And the third one is digital public infrastructure, common reaction for the new kinds of innovations, which bring also inherent risks. They state majorly, essentially 3 principles, key principles. So why Turkey needs a digital transformation on compliance with the EU? Because by digital transformation, as we all know, Turkey might benefit from its relationship with the EU in the customs union. And we all know that, in Lisbon Treaty, we try to get compliance about fundamental human rights with the European Union. When we look at the point of European view, they look for the opportunity to accelerate flows of data that will be critical to the creation of integration. This is a graphic that Turkish digital usage year by year. The first one is percentage of individuals using the internet for interacting with public authorities. My internet connection unstable, so I close my video. It's okay. Percentage of individuals using the internet for interacting with public authorities in Turkey. As you see when we compare the 2012 and the 2018, there is a huge difference and improve for Turkish side. The purple one is Turkey, blue one is European Union. The second one is percentage of individuals using the internet for obtaining information from public authorities in Turkey. And all the graphics common point is that Turkey's digital improve was huge. The third one, percentage of individuals using the internet for downloading official forms from public authorities in Turkey. And the last one is percentage of individuals using the internet for sending field forms to public authorities in Turkey. So there is a need for some new regulations in Turkish side when we look at these graphics. So the first variable that I research is personal data protection law. When we look at the democracy and the human rights, I think that I need to scrutinize this factor. So what legislation on the protection of personal data is the data protection law. Let me say KVKK because it's more, I feel more comfortable when I say KVKK in a Turkish way. Kişisel verilerin korunması kanunu. The DPA or the KVKK is the body responsible for regulation of personal data protection. And it came into force in April 2016, just weeks before the EU passed its groundbreaking General Data Protection Regulation. I will compare and contrast with the GDPR, by the way. These are just the dates, but when we compare the date of the KVKK and the GDPR, these are the same dates. It's not important, I think, which says which launched before or later, but the dates are similar. It is the first law in Turkey that regulates personal data protection and outlines the legal obligation. So it's a crucial point. The KVKK was meant to bring Turkish legislation in line with the EU's directive. So what is personal data? So personal data is any information relating to identified or identifiable natural person. Why we try to protect this personal data? So, personal is. According to law, the data controller is the person who determines the purposes for which personal data is processed. And processing of personal data is the series of operations that are carried out on personal data, such as collection, recording, storage, reorganization, and disclosure and transferring, etc. What is the obligations of data controller? According to KVKK, obligation to inform. When collecting personal data, the controller is obligated to inform data subjects about the identity of the controller. So we need to inform that. All the cookies or some things, we all know that we need to be informed. Second, erasure, destruction or anonymization of personal data, and personal data can be erased, distracted or anonymized by the controller. Third one, data security requirements. The control is obligated to prevent unlawful processing of personal data, prevent unlawful access to personal retention. And the fourth one, obligation to register to data controllers registry. Not all the factors can be controlled because the data controls need to be registry. Verbis, you all know that. Verbis is a registration system where data controllers shall be registered. There is need for that. And the last one is responding to data subject access request. The data controller is obligated to respond to the request which made by the data subject in writing within the 30 days of the receipt, the latest and free of charge. So what data is protected under the KVKK? Special categories of personal data, such as sensitive personal data relating to race, ethnic origin, political opinions, religion, sect or other beliefs, membership of associations or foundations, health data, information related to sexual life, previous criminal convictions, and biometric and genetic data. When we get the GDPR, maybe we can see the more detailed version of that. Yes, General Data Protection Regulation. Its key the procedures and principles for the processing of personal data in the law, the KVKK law, are regulated in parallel with the GDPR. That's why I need to explain GDPR, because we need not just need for that. We are trying to in compliance with the EU regulations. And one of them is GDPR. And the key principles of the data must be the data must be processed lawfully and fairly, and accurate and where necessary, keep up to date. Processed for specified, explicit, and legitimate purposes, relevant, limited, and proportionate to the purposes for which they are processed, and retained for the period of time determined by the relevant legislation or the period deemed necessary for the purpose of processing. And this came into force in was adopted in 2016, but came into force in 2018, GDPR. It seems to be late when we compare to KVKK, but it's a regulated form of directive, which came into force 1998. So, KVKK versus GDPR. What is the similarities and differences of them? These are the main headlines. The writings. Definition of personal data. The GDPR has a more elaborate, more detailed version of personal data when describes what is the personal data. But these are similar, not contrasting. Second, processing of personal data. Any operation, any process which is performed on personal data, beginning from the first time the data is obtained, means processing in general. And when I see these two regulations, I see no difference in GDPR and KVKK. So the third one, data recording system. Data recording system is a filling system for the GDPR for the EU side, but when we say our side, it's a physical, electronic or physical environment. It's compulsory. And explicit consent. This is the major factor of the regulations. Explicit consent has some differences when we compare these two regulations, because in our side, it is defined as freely given informed consent as regards to the specific subject in KVKK. It means that the data subject statement of approval that is freely given based on sufficient information, unambiguous and limited to specific subject, etc. But in GDPR, consent is defined as any freely given, specific, informed, and unambiguous indication of the data subject's wishes. So these are, I think, the ambiguity is the major difference. Anonymization. The term anonymization is used in KVKK. It is not used in GDPR, but there is a similar meaning that pseudonymization is defined in GDPR. I think these can be substitutable. And the last one is liabilities and administrative penalties. These are similar too, but just the differences just concludes from the, how can I say, miktar, proportions of the fines. So here is another factor. Sorry, I need to.
Merve, you need to wrap in 5 minutes.
Okay. I have be fast.
You are taking your time.
Okay, thank you.
But you need to wrap it. Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for warning. The second factor, because as I said, there are two variables in my research. The second one is Turkish Internet Law. Mainly, as we all know, that social media law. Is Turkey comply with EU or not? The social media regulations in Turkey went into force in late 2020. The law regulates 4 areas: the legal, criminal, and administrative liability of internet actors, the access restriction procedure for the certain crimes, the notice and takedown procedures, the removal of content and blocking access to such content, and the filtering techniques and surveillance of the internet. Actually, in 2007, Turkey has an internet law already, but there is need for reform. The reform majorly consists of Article 4. So I need to explain and analyze Article 4. That's why I am stating besides other factors. So what is the Article 4's major definitions? The first one is social network provider is responsible for sharing the identification and contact information of this individual with the authority. In cases of non-compliance, the authority will send notice those who fail to comply with the obligation to appoint a representative to the authority. Social network providers, which are more than 1 million subscriptions, are obliged to respond to applications made by persons with regard to content, and social network providers are required to take all necessary measures to store data belonging to users in Turkey, inside Turkey. But when we look at the EU's internet law, mainly Digital Services Act, its package has launched in 2022. So as I said, the dates are similar. This Act's key principles are modernized liability regime for the online intermediaries, far-reaching transparency obligations for online platforms relating to the measures taken to combat illegal information, obligation and online intermediaries to include their terms and conditions information, and compliance with obligation. So my research questions stands on 2 dimensions: facilities and difficulties on the cooperation between Turkey and Europe. There's 2 variations, as I said, the KVKK model, when we compare the GDPR model, and the internet law, the Digital Services Act. So these are my references. Thank you for listening to me. I'm willing to answer the questions. I can end the video, start the questions at the end of the section.
We thank you for that detailed presentation. I hope you'll have lots of questions.
I guess.
I guess so. Yes, now we are going to Begüm Burak. She's a researcher, and her title is Cyberbullying on Twitter, the case of Pride Day in Turkey. Please.
Thank you very much, dear Chair. First of all, I want to thank Professor Akişilmen for the opportunity. This is my 3rd time. One was before the pandemic. The second one was last year, and this year is my 3rd time. Can I share my screen? And I also look at the clock. I will give up at 11:30, 15 minutes later, I hope. So, okay, I'm going to share my screen. Yes, this is, can you see it, right? Okay. So this is the title of my presentation is Cyberbullying on Twitter, the case of Pride Day in Turkey. This is my abstract. I want to summarize it. First of all, I will define what the concept of cyberbullying means.
Could you take your presentation to the presentation mode?
Presentation mode. I will try to do it.
F5.
In
F5.
Onda hiç bende de yok.
So, I don't know how to do it, sorry, but I think you can see my slides, right?
Okay, we can see
I'm not going to read it mode by mode.
We can see it. Okay.
So the title, as you just said, dear Chair, this is the abstract. I want to summarize it. First of all, I want to define what the concept of cyberbullying. Then I will try to address the notion of LGBT and its historical development in the world scale and also in Turkey. Then I will try to make an analysis of the tweets that I tried to analyze. Cyberbullying can be defined as the bullying with the use of digital technologies. According to the official webpage of United States government. There's a web page called stopbullying.go. Cyberbullying can occur through SMS, text messages, applications, or online in social media forums or gaming platforms where people can view, participate in, or share content. Cyberbullying includes sending, posting, or sharing negative, harmful, or false content to someone else. Cyberbullying includes some certain characteristics. For example, if we post comments or rumors about someone online that is mean, hurtful, or embarrassing, if we post again hurtful images or videos, if we post hateful names or comments about any race or religion or other personal characteristics online, if we use some abbreviations in the online forums that includes harassment or revenge or threatening or destroying the privacy of other individuals, this is also what we can define within the borders of cyberbullying. The effects of cyberbullying, here I try to have a look at the webpage of UNICEF, and according to UNICEF, there are three main effects of cyberbullying. First is the mental effects. It leads people to feel upset, stupid, or even angry. Emotionally, it makes people feel ashamed or losing interest in the others that we love. Physically, it makes us feel tired. We can have loss of sleep, experiencing symptoms like headaches or other stressful symptoms. Cyberbullying in Turkey. Here I try to have a look at what kind of research has been made in Turkey about the concept. Turkish academia doesn't hold extensive research about cyberbullying in Turkey. I found a website while I was making an online research, www.cyberbullying.org/research/map and Turkey. In this web page, here you can see there are the academic articles and other stuff that address to the issue of cyberbullying by the Turkish academics. For example, Turkish researchers Akbulut, Şahin, and Erişti in 2010 found that 56% of participants experienced at least one instance of cyberbullying victimization. Also, Arıcak, another scholar, discovered that cyberbullying was carried out by mostly males who were both anonymous, as Merve previously said, they hide their real identities, and these kinds of sharings are characterized by hostility and psychoticism, according to Arıcak. According to
Begüm, is there a problem about me?
According to Arıcak, I think maybe I can turn off my video to have a more good voice system. Is it okay at the moment? But I don't know how to turn off my video because it doesn't seem. Anyway, are you okay at the moment with my voice?
Okay now, but we can't.
Okay. So I talked about the research made in Turkey about this concept of cyberbullying. Here, there's another important term that I should cover, because some of the social media posts which have a cyberbullying character also includes hate speech. What is hate speech? According to Cambridge Dictionary, hate speech is a public speech that expresses hate or encourages violence towards a person or group based on something such as race, sexual orientation, or religion. A legal definition of hate speech varies from country to country. In some EU countries can be more sensitive, but I'm not sure, because there is some issues like Islamophobia in such countries as well. So I don't want to make a comparative analysis here. And hate speech, according to European Commission Against Racism and Intolerance, says that there are many forms of hate speech, and it poses dangers for the cohesion of a democratic society. I'm sorry. So I want to briefly talk about Twitter as a tool of social interaction. I don't want to make a definition or a broad coverage of Twitter, but you can say that Twitter is just a social platform It's like a microblogging website. And according to Twitter rules, Twitter's mission is to give everyone the power to create and share ideas and information and to express their opinions and beliefs. There is on the web page of Twitter, there is a section called Rules and Policies, and in this section, it says that the users must not promote violence against the other users and must not, post hateful comments or hateful posts. We can see this on the web page of Twitter. According to Time magazine, Twitter actioned 1 million blah blah blah different accounts between July and December 2020 for infringing its hateful conduct policy. So we can say that there are lots of examples of hateful speech on Twitter, but Twitter takes action against these. Twitter and hate speech is another subsection of my presentation. In order to define more precisely, I have 10 minutes. Okay. In order to define more precisely the features and discourses of hate speech on social network, Wasim and Toby argue that tweet is offensive if it uses a sexist or racial slur, if it attacks a minority, if it criticizes a minority without a well-founded argument, if it promotes but does not directly use hate speech or violent crime. Also, a tweet is offensive if it criticizes a minority or misrepresents truth or seeks to distort views on a minority with unfounded claims. So let's talk a little bit about LGBT. LGBT is the abbreviation or acronym for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer or questioning. Q stands for queer or questioning. In use since 1990s. This initialism is an umbrella term for sexuality and gender identity. LGBT culture is a culture shaped by, these different individuals. Queer is another term here. It's a term which means the people who are not heterosexual or who are not cisgender. Cisgender is a term describing a person whose gender identity is the same as their sex assigned at birth. LGBT movement. LGBT movement is also has a political dimension. According to sociologist Mary Bernstein, for the lesbian and gay movement, then cultural goals include, but are not limited to, challenging dominant constructions. Political goals include laws and policies to gain new rights, benefits, and protections from harm, we can say. What is Pride Day or Pride Parade? A Pride Parade is an outdoor event celebrating lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, non-binary, and queer social and self-acceptance, achievements, and legal rights. In fact, its historical background goes to the history of United States. It commemorates the Stonewall Riot, considered the most important event in the gay liberation movement in the United States. These demonstrations, this protest started in 1962 when police raided the Stonewall, and in 2016, Barack Obama established the Stonewall National Monument in the area. So this was like 60 years ago, but it was first experienced in the United States. Briefly, the Turkish context. LGBT people have had the right to seek asylum in Turkey under the Geneva Convention since 1951. In 1980s, the Radical Democratic Green Party in Turkey expressed support for gay rights, including the work of a group of transgender people to protest police brutality. In Turkey in 1993, the organizers were denied to hold an LGBT Pride Day. But we cannot say that Turkey became the first Muslim majority country which a gay pride was held. Pride protest was held in İSTANBUL since 2003 and Ankara since 2008. The Pride Day has been celebrated. And in June 2018, the Embassy of Turkey, along with the ambassadors from 51 countries, have signed an open letter of support for LGBT rights in Poland. So this is also an important event about LGBT in Turkey. Also, some shortly for 5 minutes, I can say, The main opposition party proposed gay rights to Turkish parliament in 2013. In 2017, Turkey's first LGBT chorus was established. 3 years ago, Istanbul Pride was banned by government authorities. And in 2018, Turkish authorities in Ankara banned the screening of a movie called Pride. It was a comedy drama, but it was prohibited. Virtual hate speech. This is the main part of my analysis. This is the preliminary format of the study, as I should note it also. I tried to analyze the tweets posted on 3 days, June 28, it is June 29 and June 30. June 28 was celebrated as the Pride Day, and I selected some keywords like LGBT, perverted, gay, and lesbian, and I tried to look for these tweets. Of course, I had to make a quantitative analysis. I had to use some tools in order to select the tweets, but I don't know how to use this platform. So I tried to make a qualitative research. I Googled the tweets and I tried to make a random collection. For example, one of the AKP youth branch members' tweets posted on June 28 said that we are strongly against people with this mentality at Recep Tayyip Erdogan University. So this was the guy's tweet that I translated. We will follow up to ensure this perverted thought does not inject poison into our fellow students. Another tweet posted by anonymous profile. Their only concern is to normalize perversion sapkınlık. They make comparisons to see if they have a voice against this perversion in our small spheres, but we cannot condone an immorality as much as we can. Another tweet is saying that you will support LGBT, which is the moral decay project of imperialism, and then you will shed fake crocodile tears at the case of pedophilia and perversion in society. They are insincere. Another tweet was saying we want the same attitude of everyone who spoke about the atrocities experienced yesterday for LGBT as well. LGBT disease is no different from child abuse, but no one talks about it. LGBT is playing with the values of our children. Whatever happened yesterday is the same in LGBT. Nothing has changed. Another tweet was posted on June 29. It was saying LGBT and child abusers must get capital punishment. Another tweet was saying say a little more Pride Week and defend LGBT child abusers. Perversion makes a splash because of you. They are damned without conscience. Another 2 tweets, but I want to summarize it. So it was saying you will not respect people cursed by the Quran. LGBT is perversion. Shortly, my analysis is this. In the content of the selected tweets, LGBT was represented with stigmatizing words, and it was regarded equivalent to perversion. The following attributions were used, like poison, immorality, child abuse, disease, atrocity, heresy, and being un-Muslim. It's known that every year on June 28th, the Pride Day is celebrated, and in addition to offline protests, there are many online protests occurring on Twitter. So I analyzed some of the tweets, and I saw that there are hurtful, embarrassing, and also stigmatizing content about the LGBT community. They included words like child abuser, perverted, and poison. This post can be defined, can be regarded as hateful, hurtful, and also embarrassing. Thank you for listening to me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for that nice presentation. Also, I'm sure that you're going to have lots of questions.
Thank you.
And now we are going to listen Rabia Sare Aslıyüksek, I guess. Am I right?
Aslıyüksek, actually.
Sorry, Aslıyüksek. Yes, you're right.
It's a common mistake, doesn't matter for me anymore. I'm Rabia Sare Aslıyüksek. I'm a research assistant at the İnönü University. We started this paper with Associate Professor O.Göktolga. He is not here at the moment, and I will make the presentation for both of us. In this paper, we describe the terms of good governance and e-governance. By doing so, we clarified the confusions around the terms, and our aim in this study was to target the need of good governance and in the digitalized world, without e-governance, achieving the good governance is impossible to do so. So we mainly focused on the Council of Europe's definition of good governance, and the need of e-governance is explained through the 12 principles of the Council of Europe. So, governance is different from the government. Governance is a process that is done by the government. Governance draws attention to decision-making and the inclusion of public and shareholders in this process. On the other hand, government is described as the group of people with the authority to govern a country or state, or the state by which a state or community is governed by the Oxford Dictionary. And e-governance is defined as the use of information technology to raise the quality of the services governments deliver to citizens and businesses by the Council of Europe. Another definition for e-governance is the use of electronic methods in government to government, government to citizen, government to employees, and government to business interactions, as well as in internal government processes to simplify and strengthen democratic governance. Good governance is a method of government that aims to build a system based on justice and peace while safeguarding people's human rights and civil freedoms. Participation, rule of law, transparency, responsiveness, consensus-oriented, equity and inclusiveness, effectiveness and efficiency and accountability are the 8 elements used by the United Nations to assess the good governance. We mainly focused on this part of our presentation. This is the implementation of e-governance, the Council of Europe's principles of good governance. Around the world, e-governance faces several obstacles due to the complexity of combination of an old problems and order, as well as the problems and necessities of a new era in which technology is increasingly becoming an integral part of our life. The traditional understanding of government is not sufficient to achieve the good governance. Administrative, legal, institutional, and technological issues all contribute to these difficulties. Council of Europe set 12 principles for good governance. These are fair conduct, and I will actually explain each of them. The first one is the fair conduct of elections, representation and participation. Information and communication technologies made the political participation more accessible for every citizen. Since political participation is defined as a voluntary act conducted by the mass public to influence public policy, either directly or indirectly, via influencing the selection of policymakers, voting in elections, assisting a political campaign, providing money to a candidate or cause, contacting authorities, petitioning, demonstrating, and collaborating with others on problems are all examples of these behaviors. Participation modalities group together certain activities. So, it's a need. E-governance is a need in here too. The second one is responsiveness. The basic definition of responsiveness in the context of democracy, especially as applied to the government, may be characterized as reflecting and giving expression to the will of the people. However, complications emerge almost immediately after these statements are spoken. At best, people's will is a nebulous term. We might alternatively define responsiveness as the ability to respond quickly to all demands. In today's world, citizens are able to show their responses even without standing up from their chairs with Twitter-like social media platforms. The third principle is efficiency and effectiveness. Improving public service management, efficiency and delivery should be a key component. It should be a key component of any national effort to improve governance and eliminate corruption. When services are delivered efficiently, there are less possibilities for corruption, since citizens are no longer forced to compete for limited and inefficient services, frequently by paying bribes. When e-government applications cut off face-to-face communications between citizens and civil servants, they reduce the possibility of corruption. In addition, it has reduced the stationery and labor cost and ensured the channeling of the labor force to necessary places. The fourth one is openness and transparency. These are essential factors in establishing responsibility and trust, all of which are required for democracies and market economies to work well. Today, with the widespread use and access of the internet, each government institution can share its agenda and news and even their annual budgets directly to the citizens on their own websites. The fifth one is rule of law, the system, process, institution, practice, or standard that maintains the equality of all people before the law, ensures a non-arbitrary form of government, and prohibits the arbitrary exercise of power in general, is known as rule of law. So the sixth one is ethical conduct. Individual interests are prioritized over the general welfare. All sorts of corruption may be prevented and combated with proper techniques. Conflicts of interest must be notified promptly, and those affected must refrain from participating in important decisions. This could be also very easy with the applications of e-governance. The other one is competence and capacity. Those who deal with governance have their professional skills maintained and enhanced on a regular basis to increase their production and effect. Public officials are driven to improve their performances over time. Practical strategies and processes are developed and used to convert skills into capacity and improve outcomes. The eighth one is innovation and openness to change. New and efficient solutions to issues are explored and new service delivery methods are utilized. The other one is the sustainability and long-term orientation. Current policies take into mind the demands of future generations. The community's long-term viability is regularly considered, and decisions are made with the goal of internalizing all costs and avoiding passing on issues and tensions to future generations, whether they be environmental, structural, financial, economic, or social. There is a comprehensive and long-term view of the local community's future, as well as understanding of what is required for such growth. This perspective is based on a knowledge of the historical, cultural, and social intricacies. The 10th one is sound financial management. Its charges must not exceed the cost of services delivered to and do not significantly limit demand, especially for critical public services. 11th one is human rights, cultural diversity, and social cohesion, which is self-explanatory. And the last principle is accountability. Individuals and collective decision makers alike accept responsibility for their actions. Decisions are documented, explained, and sanctioned. There are viable remedies for bad management and local government activities that violate civil rights. In conclusion, we need to develop far more sophisticated systems for capturing and measuring the impact of e-governance so that we can judge its success in order to just crude availability terms. And we need to be able to judge the real impact on citizens, not just changes in production or distribution of public services. But all these principles of good governance that set by the Council of Europe that we have listed and explained reveal the use of cyberspace is a necessary in our age in order to achieve good governance goals. However, it should not be overlooked that the use of e-governance is not something that will happen suddenly. In order for e-governance to be used effectively, necessary technological and human infrastructure elements need to be developed and improved. In addition, an already bad governance will not suddenly turn into a good governance with the introduction of e-governance. However, a government adopts the good governance principles will achieve these goals much faster, easier, and less costly by means of the e-governance. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your presentation. Now to Untitled Chapter from Selçuk University. Is cyber actually asking a question? Is cybersecurity of human security? How we need to evolve? Let's listen him. Is he here?
Şerife Hoca, I guess your connection is unstable, so we cannot understand you.
Sorry. You hear me?
Your connection is unstable, I guess, so we can't hear you properly.
Ding it.
So Önder Hoca is missing, I guess. Yeah, Önder Hoca is not present. So maybe we can shift to your presentation.
Yeah. Your minute. Okay. Sorry. I'm trying to share, but görebiliyorsunuz değil mi? Bir problem var mı?
Görüyoruz hocam.
Okay. Cyber defense and NATO historical approach is my first headline. The Atlantic Alliance approach towards cyber defense has evolved significantly over the past 15 years because of the threats, global threats actually. As you all know from 2008, the threats against states get very high. Enhancing is important as an element which can contribute substantially to all the three core texts established by the current strategic concept: collective defense, crisis management operations, cooperative security. And in particular, it has been acknowledged de facto that a cyber attack can cause damage comparable to that of an armed attack and thus become a case for collective defense pursuant to Article 5 of the Washington Treaty. The 2008 summit meeting of heads of state and government had already adopted a first policy on cyber defense, which then took a leap forward in the 2014 summit with the enhanced NATO policy on cyber defense. As you know, this year is very special. There were attacks on the USA government, and also there are Russian, Georgian war, and during that war there were lots of attacks and threats and lots of countries involved. So it's not just a coincidence. In the subsequent Warsaw Summit in 216, elite countries recognized cyberspace as a domain, thus equating it to the other conventional military domains, land, sea, and air. The Warsaw Summit also led to the signing of the Cyber Defense Pledge aimed at establishing a common platform to improve national defense and resilience capabilities vis-a-vis a cyber attack. Subsequently, several action plans have been adopted in order to implement the commitments made with the Cyber Defense Pledge. The elite commitment focuses on the development of defensive capabilities following Article 3 of the Washington Treaty concerning individual and collective capacity to resist an armed attack. Such a focus matches the great importance attached to cyber attacks deemed ever more frequent, complex, and destructive to the extent that they can trigger Article 5 and 6. So much so that in the 218 Brussels Summit Declaration, it is explicitly stated that cyber defense is part of NATO's collective defense understanding. A major issue this regard is the difficulty in distinguishing peacetime from crisis or conflict, given the attacker's ability to hide his authorship over the conducted attack or even the event itself. This is a trait which unfortunately is ever more widespread in an international security environment that features a sort of constant peacetime war. Against this backdrop, which also saw cyber attacks multiply during the first wave of COVID-19, in June 2020, the North Atlantic Council stated that all member states are determined to employ the full range of capabilities, including cyber, to deter, defend against, and counter the full spectrum of cyber threats. It is worth noting how NATO declares itself ready to use not only cyber capabilities, but also air, maritime, or land capabilities to counter a cyber attack. Thus, NATO considers all operational domains in an integrated manner for the purpose of deterrence and defense, in line with the integration of Cyber Operations Center in the NATO command structure as decided during the 2018 Brussels Summit. In order to perform effective deterrence, however, the ability to find the authorship of attacks is fundamental a priority, which demands further efforts on behalf of the allies. Concerning the cyber domain, NATO ultimately reaffirms its nature of defensive alliance, as well as the principle for which international law is also applicable to the cyberspace and which has to be observed, which is very crucial for all of us. Because if we start to mention about international law, which is a part of NATO's government, we need to think for who and for which gains. The 219 London Summit gave new political strategic impetus to NATO's activities in cyberspace and other space in light of the across-the-board geopolitical competition with China and Russia, within a global context marked by aggressive multipolarity. Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg declared that cyberspace is the new battleground and making NATO cyber ready, well-resourced, well-trained, well-equipped is a top priority. Accordingly, the 2020 report of the NATO's 2030 Reflection Group ascribed great relevance to emerged and disruptive technologies, understood both as a sector in which to invest more and a set of challenges. Within EDTs, those related to cyber defense, while all artificial intelligence are considered priority. Stoltenberg highlighted that cyber threats will become more dangerous with the development of new technologies such as AI and machine learning. These technologies are fundamentally changing the nature of warfare as much as the Industrial Revolution did, adapting to this new reality. And also spending for the cyber attacks is getting higher and higher, and it's a real burden for the countries, all of them, especially which are facing that kind of attacks more than others. The new strategic concept to be presumably defined throughout 2021 pays great attention to cyber defense and generally to the cyber domain and EDTs as another field of confrontation with China and Russia. Already in 2016, NATO recognized cyberspace as an operational domain in which the alliance must be capable of operating as effectively as in the land, maritime and air domains. So they started to build a structural capacity to struggle with cyber attacks. Such acknowledgement is the starting point for the elite command to use the cyber domain and resources in their operations, and for NATO structures themselves to gear up in this respect. The elites maintain their political military leadership also in this cyber domain, where NATO structures serve above all as support to the decision-making process. For that purpose, the North Atlantic Council is supported by the Cyber Defense Committee. This is the core organization or branch of NATO, which is responsible to cyber attacks, responsible for the political governance of NATO's cyber defense. The Cyber Defense Management Board, we have a cyber attack, I guess, from a cat. The Cyber Defense Management Board within the Emerging Security Challenges Division gathers in a permanent coordination format with the representatives of the military, diplomatic, and technical bodies, commands, agencies, etc., responsible for the various NATO cyber defense activities. At the operational level in 2019, a Cyberspace Operations Center was created within the Elite Command operations in Mons, Belgium. The center is responsible for NATO cyber operations in supporting of operational command, primarily for monitoring cyberspace and coordinating operations in this domain with those in the land, maritime, and air domains. The CYOC could pave the way to the future creation of a NATO command for cyber operations on par with operational commands in the other domains. Beyond the CIOC and its possible evaluation, almost all the main elements of NATO integrated military commands already have a role to play with regard to cyber defense. As an example, the NATO force integration units are deployed in the eastern flank countries to better integrate local forces from the Baltics to Romania with those of other member states in order to ensure deterrence and defense vis-à-vis Russia. At the technical level, the NATO Communications and Information Agency established in 2012 provides many of the capabilities necessary to the alliance structures in terms of cyber defense. The NCIA directly managed some of the elite networks interacting within the NATO Cybersecurity Center and the NATO Computer Incident Response Capability. The latter, NATO Computer Incident Response Capability, constantly monitors the alliance's networks, is the first to respond in the event of attacks, files reports on similar instances, and provides support to the aforementioned CDMB. Furthermore, the NCIRC, through a specific coordination center, allows allies to exchange information and techniques on cyber threats, including some indicators that can provide clues over the nature of occurred attacks. In 2019, the NCIE renewed the 18 additional months the contract with company Leonardo. It's like solution partner. Leonardo is a solution partner of NATO and is interesting, a private company. It is in force since 2012 on computer protection service for the airline. A joint staff from Leonardo and NCIA consisting of about 200 experts on cybersecurity provides NATO personnel in the 30 member countries with services related to detection, management, and response to cyber attacks. In addition, the NATO Cyber Rapid Reaction Teams are available to be promptly employed in support of allies suffering cyber attacks. Finally, outside the Allied Integrated Military Command, the Cooperative Cyber Defense Center of Excellence, inaugurated in Estonia in 2008, prepares studies and reports on issues of interest for cyber defense, and since 2010 hosts periodic exercises. One of such exercises is known as Shakil. Involved more than 1,000 participants in 2019, including institutional leaders and personnel devoted to responding to cyber attacks, virtually engaged in containing a series of attacks to the critical infrastructures of a country during political elections. Such exercises are very important to prepare civil and military personnel for worst-case cyber attack scenarios. However, the training should also touch upon people's habits in using electronic devices that weaken NATO's defense capability. The human factor is crucial for cyber defense. In this context, a contribution to allied defense capabilities and resilience is provided by the training courses of the NATO Communications and Information Systems School in Portugal and the NATO School in Obermarsch, Germany, as well as by the research activities on the political-military level of the NATO Defense College in Rome. The aforementioned exercises are also important for strengthening cooperation, practice, and information exchange. This is the case for the Cyber Coalition exercise organized by the NATO Allied Command Transformation aimed to familiarize the top levels of the decision-making process with the situation of cyber attack. The information exchange in this sector, however, remains thorny, complicated, and politically sensitive, similarly to what happens with intelligence, with possible consequences on the ability to contain and counter threats. It is crucial to build a trustful relationship within the community of insiders and professionals over time, also on subsequent use of shared information. In order to boost information exchange, mutual trust, and national capabilities of response to cyber attacks, since 2015, the CDMB has been tasked with undersigning a memorandum of understanding on cyber defense with the authorities of each member state. Since 2019, member states such as US, the UK, France, Denmark, and Estonia have agreed on the NATO framework within which they are willing to integrate voluntary contributions in terms of defensive and offensive operations. Such capabilities remain in any case under the full control and responsibility of the country to which they belong. And probably at the coming days, the range or the number of the countries going to be get higher who will involve at this cooperation. Thank you to listen to me.
Thank you very much, Şerife Hocam. So I guess
You're welcome.
Önder Hoca is still missing. So maybe we can shift to the question session.
Yes. We can have the questions.
Yeah, actually, I have a question for Mediha, although I have got no chance to listen to all the presentation. Mediha, do you have any statistics about fake news? I mean, for countries, particularly in Pakistan, Turkey, Europe. Hello, Mediha.
I guess she's listening.
She is also missing, maybe.
Yes, probably.
Okay. So maybe if there are some other questions. No questions. Okay, Şerife Hoca, maybe you can finish the session if there are no questions.
I thank you to all contributors, and also I thank you to you to
You're
invite me
welcome.
again. It was really nice to see you all and being with you at this morning, this
Yeah.
weekend morning.
Okay, guys,
Ne
thank you
diyelim
very
başka?
much. Yeah, for participating. So we have 2 sessions afternoon, but they will be in Polish. So I don't think that we can understand the presentations. So tomorrow morning we have a Turkish session. And now again, thank you and see you later.